So again, to come back to your original point, your ideal relationship, would you have on contact with them on a week-to-week basis, once a month? How would that work? How would you change what is already there?
I don't think you should have it as structured as that. I think instead we need a situation where students feel as if they could actually go to them and speak to them. At the moment, I don't think it's enough to meet people once a year, to meet your DOS once a year. If you were to structure, I would say once a semester. So you could just talk about your course coming up. If you want to change it, you can understand how to do that, things like that. But I think instead there needs more of a system where if something crops up, you know fine well that you can go to them and they'll be willing to speak to you and be able to give you the proper advice as a person, rather than somebody whose matric number they're aware of.
So obviously you're quite interested in the welfare of international students. I mean, you're bringing a motion to the GM tonight. It's quite interesting that you propose that we create a visa and immigration advice drop-in centre. Would this be exclusively for people which are concerned about visa and immigration? Because we already have the advice place and the international office.
The reason why I brought this up is because from my experiences in the advice place, it's completely, there's so many people needing that advice, they're having to book appointments, and some people need to have that advice within that week. They receive a letter, they receive a letter late because the post service necessarily didn't get it to them, and they need to get back to whoever's contacted them within that week, and they're not able to book an appointment. The
so shouldn't the answer
international
just
office
increase in the room at the advice place?
Well, this would kind of do that, but it would have a specific area. So all they deal with is visa and immigration advice. Now, what I would suggest is that this isn't just necessarily advice place staff, because you'd have to have more staff, but it's also an opportunity for law students, for example, who have graduated. They can't give immigration advice as such, but they can give advice on legal status as a person. So for example, if something's coming up that you're having, I don't know, a certain amount of funding taken away from whatever, somebody's able to give you advice, being like, actually, you have this way to do it, go and see this as an advice period, you can do this. And graduate law students are able to do that, and it's a great way to get some experience for your CV.
Sure. Well, another thing that you suggest as well is that we have a postal service and a currency exchange in union shops. Is this a priority?
I think it is. I think it's an extra priority. I don't know, I think this is coming from when I was organising Freshers Week, a lot of international students, a lot of students saying that they didn't actually have accommodation offered yet, but they had things coming over. They had things to be delivered, things like that, and they kept on saying to me, is there anywhere I can send it to? Accommodation services were refusing to take things, and this would be a system where you can have parcels delivered to be able to, for collection. You can also send them, so you don't have to take time out of your day to head down to St James's Centre or your nearest big postal office. It's entirely possible as well. I've spoken to two people who actually set up postal services and currency exchange within their already existing shops. And all you need to do is send people on a certified course and get them trained up in that sense and have the security that's there. The union shop is financially viable. I mean, it's not going to be closed down, and that's why a lot of the post offices have closed down, because the actual premises aren't financially viable. And this would be an extra that I just think would be so great for students that need to get something done. They have lectures 9 till 12, 2 till 5, and they have 2 hours in the day. Instead of having to rush down into town, they'll be able to use it on their own campus.
So do you think most students would use this? Do you think the cost it would take to start up would be far outweighed by the convenience it would have for students?
Yeah, I really do. The cost of it, if you look at the university's finances, won't be that substantial. I mean, the university turns over millions of pounds each year. I mean, it's not a huge take out of it. And I think at the end of the day, we need to consider as well students' needs. And the money is there, we just need to consider our priorities. And I think by putting students first, for want of a different term at this stage, that should be there for the convenience of students rather than considering that side of it.
Similar to a stationery shop in the library in case you forget your pen.
Yeah, there's so many times I've run out of paper there. It just makes sense to have it there. I mean, you're there for the whole day. If 24-hour libraries go ahead, where are you going to go at 3 AM to get some resources that you may need?
Okay, so you seem to take into account a lot of people at university. I'm really interested in the student parents' ideas. Can you just talk about that for a little while?
This is something I got involved with in my year as a welfare convener, and I feel very, very strongly about this actually. Student parents, I mean, what was it, 90% come to university, they don't even know it supports there, 70% don't take it up. The longer the the length that it's open. I mean, it's only, I think it's 24 students, 24 children can be taken at each half of the day, up until 5:30 at night. And to me, why make it more difficult for a set of people that will be finding it difficult in the first place to come to university? It's a big decision to come, and it's great, and it's great that that decision has been made, and there needs to be that support there for them. At the moment there's not, and the fact that these student parents aren't actually taking up a lot of the financial resources that are open to them, I think that's a real issue, which is why, for example, I want to propose an online system where people can go on and say a little bit of information about themselves, and it comes up with a list of funds and grants that are actually available to students, because that's the best way to do it. I mean, you contact, I don't know, SAS, you contact your LEA, and you find out that you have to wait 10 minutes in a queue, sometimes longer, and then they're like, well, it did say on the application form if you read notes 5.7 or something ridiculous like that. It's a lot simpler, 10 minutes on the internet, put down a few requirements as to what you fulfil, if you're a student parent, if you have a disability, and it'll be there for you to come up. And that's something the university can actually do with it. It will help not only student parents, but a lot more students at university who could do with more funds and grants.
So how's your relationship with the other presidential candidates? Do you talk much?
Yeah, I think we do actually. I mean, like, I'm not going to deny that there's no obvious tension between us. Last night we met each other as well, and we sat down having a chat and things. And I think it's really interesting, because I think sometimes we're watching what we say to each other to make sure that we're not doing anything that could be perceived in a horrible way or whatever. But so far I think it's fine.
So you were a member of Labour students a few years ago.
Yeah.
Are they helping you out?
No, I was a member in my first year, Labour students, but for various reasons I decided to leave Labour students, and I've become what some may coin a floating voter. I would say more a consumerist voter, where you just look at the policies and vote as you please. I mean, the last election I voted for the Green Party in the European elections, because I think we could do a lot more good there. But I think there's also this perception that political parties on campus are some real mobile base to help whichever candidates are running. I can't help feeling that's a bit of a myth. It's quite a fun myth. But yeah, Labour students aren't helping me. I'm not sure if any of the candidates have been endorsed by a political party as such. I don't know.
Fantastic. And what are you thinking you'd want to do eventually when you graduate? If you got the presidency, what would be next for Laura-Jayne?
Well, I'm currently applying to do law conversions, so hopefully if I can convince somebody that they want to take me on as a law student, then that's what I want to go into. I'd really like to go into human rights law.
Fantastic. Laura-Jayne, it has been a pleasure. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.